It should technically be live, but I don't hear myself through the mic yet, so I'm still checking the audio. Refreshing my screen, seeing if that makes any difference. We'll get going in just a moment, hopefully, and start addressing the issue at hand. Okay, I think we got this. As a preamble, I'm sick today. Yep, nose is running like a faucet. So I've been ill for a while, but I figured I need to do something. I need to get off my butt. That's the wrong expression because I'm sitting on my butt here doing this Q&A. I've got to get up and do something other than wallow in misery in my bed, like blowing my nose. I'm so sick. Ugh. Right? Anyway, we'll get through this together. Probably the most common comment I get on this channel, besides comments on my facial hair, my voice, and whether or not I'm wearing a hat, based on whether it's a bad hair day or not, such as today, bad hair day, so put the hat on. Yeah. Okay. Is this comment: if I make a technique video, of which there are hundreds on this channel, I've got like 450 technique videos in my technique video playlist. Go check it out if you want to learn some fighting techniques. And these techniques are all context specific. For example, here is a technique that will help you be better at the sport of boxing. Here is a technique that will help you be better at the sport of mixed martial arts. And here is a technique that will help you be better at jiu-jitsu, etc. And the comment that I get the most, that just cracks me up every time, is, "You don't know the difference between a sport fight and a real fight, because sport fights aren't real fights, and the streets. Yeah, they're a special bunch. They truly are. They truly are. So, yeah. Imaginative has never seen those comments. Do they get pushed down? I don't know what push down means. Do you mean like the YouTube robots try to hide them? Probably not. It's just nobody tends to upvote stupid comments. And so, yeah. So, I want to read a comment. It's a different one. But it's a guy who's left me a series of pejorative comments who's said the things along the lines of, "You don't know the difference between the streets and a sport, because in the streets there are no rules." And it's like, they seem to genuinely believe they're the first human on the planet to have voiced this idea that there are perhaps differences between street fighting and combat sports. Revolutionary, I know, but man, these geniuses, they've got it all figured out. It's amazing. Now, people always say, don't feed the trolls by addressing their comments. But guys, it's one of my favorite things in the world to read and address troll comments. Poking the trolls is fun. Would you deny me that fun? You probably would, because maybe it's not as fun for you, but I'm going to read this special comment I read today that inspired me to get up out of my sick bed and do a live stream today. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see here. So, before I get to it, I'll read a different one. This was a good faith comment, I think. Not the truly special one, but our friend Desperado, he wrote this comment, and he said he's commenting on a video titled, "Why do karate guys always get wrecked by boxers?" And when I paraphrase people's questions in these Q&A videos into like a short phrase, which you have to because you can't write the whole 3-paragraph nuanced question in the title, people tend to respond to the title rather than actually watch the video and respond to what you're saying. And our friend Desperado says, they lose, the MMA fighters lose, because they fight, the boxers fight. Here is a secret: boxers don't kick. Revolutionary idea, I know. 2, if you break an arm with a powerful kick, they can't throw punches. If you destroy their legs with powerful thigh kicks, they have no footwork. Okay, so he's made a couple of salient points about this idea. If you play the other guy's game, he's going to have an advantage. You go onto his home turf under his rules that you are less familiar with, you are going to have an advantage. But then he says this thing, if you break an arm with a powerful kick. Now, I'm not saying this has never happened. Some of you might have experienced it personally. But I have personally witnessed thousands of fights where people threw kicks that were received to the arms with the worst of intentions. And never once have I seen an arm break because of it. So, anyway, that's just something I wanted to talk about. Now, before I get to this queen mother of crazy comments, let's address a couple of super chats that came up. Let's see here. Scott McGregor says, me, you can do this thing. Them. But what if they do X, which interrupts and counters that thing? Me. Then stop doing that thing and do something else. Scott McGregor, you would make an excellent coach. Solid strategy right there, my friend. Okay, and I think we had one more super chat that I missed. Timothy McGee says, LOL, I never said that. I said a lot of techniques can be seen in any martial arts style. Sorry if you thought I did. So he's responding to somebody. Not sure. Eichsender says, I have a question. Why don't we really see the heel kick from guard that Royce Gracie did in UFC 1 anymore? Okay, that is an excellent question. And there are a couple of reasons for that. So, he didn't do it in UFC 1 so much as he did it in UFC 4, I think it was, where he had his super fight with Ken Shamrock. There weren't, I don't think he did it at all in UFC 1, but in UFC 4, with the super fight with Ken Shamrock, Ken held Royce Gracie on the bottom in his guard. Royce wasn't able to sweep, wasn't able to get a submission. Ken wasn't able to pass. I don't think he was even trying to pass. He was just trying to grind Royce into the dirt from the top, and Royce was throwing heel kicks to the kidney throughout much of the fight afterward. Ken Shamrock complained that he was pissing blood in the bathroom afterward. And when, in the year 2000, the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board wrote the rules of the UFC, they took that fight into consideration, and for about 15 years, they banned heel kicks to the kidney, which was a very confusing rule. A lot of people didn't understand this. So, when was it? 2017, that rule was rescinded because they realized it's kind of a nothing rule, especially with the modern knowledge of guard passing in MMA. So it's not something that really comes into play. If you are, it's legal now. So for about 20 years of UFC history, it was not a viable option because that actually was a banned technique. But it's legal now. So why don't we see it? It might simply be because, well, for so long, nobody trained it because it was a foul. And it might simply be because people have a much better guard passing game now. So if your whole strategy is hold the guy on the bottom and club him with your heels and the kidneys, he's going to pass your guard and beat you up pretty badly. So your priority from the guard, number 1, stand up. Number 2, sweep if you can't stand up. And number 3, work for submissions aided by strikes if you cannot do any of those 3 things aforementioned. A lot of comments about my hat. Thanks, guys. You're sad that the Fatal Fury hat is not etched in steel. Terry Bogard is the best, says Patty Viggers. Terry Bogard is an interesting character from the Fatal Fury SNK fighting video games. The King of Fighters. And I think it's largely because it's fascinating to me because that's like the 1990s Japanese idea of what an American is like. So we have this dude in a trucker hat with a long, blonde, flowing ponytail, super anime face, wearing a waistcoat and jeans, who gives you the thumbs up all the time and says things like, okay, super American catchphrase. So I love the 1990s Japanese idea of America embodied in Terry Bogard. Okay, our friend Bug in a jiu-jitsu class today, he's a 3-stripe white belt. He tapped a blue belt for the first time today. Then he proceeded to get tapped every round after that. Okay, that's cool. Tapping out is the sound of learning. And you're going to have all these experiences where, you tap the blue belt for the first time, you tap the purple belt for the first time, you tap the brown belt, you tap the black belt for the first time. And it's very important never to rest on your laurels and think, oh, I've tapped the upper belt, and so I have arrived, because as you rightly pointed out, you can get tapped a million times afterward. So tapping is the sound of learning. Every tap is a lesson to be learned there. Okay, so I'm going to keep looking for this amazing question that I wanted to discuss here. So I'm looking through my backlog of comments here. Where is it? Ah, yes. Okay, so this fellow, I won't dead name him here, but he's left a number of comments saying things like, oh, Ramsey Dewey, you suck, you don't know how to fight because you only train for the ring. But in my gym, we train for the streets and we do super illegal techniques. If you're just logging in, I've got a cold today. Yeah. And I think this is his second or third comment. And this guy, he's cyber stalking me, trying to let me know, put me in my place. I suck because I'm a combat sports coach, and combat sports is not real combat. And it's not a fight. And I need to know it. So, I'll read this comment. He says, I just did a background check on you, Dewey. A background check. I would be... I just did a background check on you. You like hired a private investigator? No, he went to Google and typed in Ramsey Dewey in Google and read a couple of details, which is interesting because if you Google my name, you know what? Let's do a background check on Ramsey Dewey and see what comes up. We're having fun today. I'm having fun anyway. Ramsey Dewey. Oh, I spelled my name wrong. Okay. Ramsey Dewey. Let's see what comes up. So the first thing that comes up on Google is my YouTube channel. The second thing is my Instagram page. If you don't follow my Instagram page, go check it out. I rarely post on it, but I have one. It exists. So if you want to see me interact with a lemur at a wild animal park, there is a short video on my Instagram channel of me hanging out with a lemur. The third result is my website, which I haven't updated in a very long time. I totally need to update that. Let's see here. The next one is my Twitter account, my X account, I guess they call it now, which I pretty much just post links to my YouTube channel there. The next one is Tapology, which has part of my fight record. Let's see here. The next one is SureDog, which also has part of my fight record. Let's see, then my Facebook page. Then ESPN, because I did appear on ESPN. ESPN Stars Asia at one point for one of my fights. Then ESPN India, because that fight also aired in India, of course. Then Amazon. What am I doing on Amazon? Oh, I've got an Amazon page. Weird. I had no idea. Okay, so I've got a little profile on Amazon. We're doing a deep dive, doing a background check on Ramsey Dewey, if you're just logging in. Quora. Quora is like a Q&A forum. Who is Ramsey Dewey and what what martial arts qualifications does he have? Let's read some of these. Who is Ramsey Dewey? What qualifications does he have? Do you find his YouTube videos informative? Alessandro says, Ramsey Dewey has one of the best YouTube channels related to fighting. Wow, that's a nice thing to say. Appreciate that. Yes, there's many more and more informative. Let me make this text larger so I can actually read it without turning my head back and forth because of my blind spots here. Let's see, there's many more and more informative, but other answers are missing the point. Ramsey never intended for his channel to be a guide or a coaching method. He likes to chat, to speak of philosophy, to address the hottest topics in the martial arts world, and he eagerly switches from self-defense to classical martial arts. I don't really address self-defense on my channel, except to talk about how silly it is. To modern mixed martial arts, to fitness, to whatever he's become famous. I'm famous! Wow. He's become famous because of 2 series videos he made where he respectively dismantles Master Wong's a Wing Chun supposed expert self-defense videos and many types of women's self-defense. Okay. He goes on and on giving a synopsis of the channel. Jonathan says, I like Ramsey Dewey. He has some great videos, gives great advice, and as long as you're polite, he'll respond to your comments or questions. Sure. I like his safety advice. Poor guy's got a rotten deal when fighting in China 10 to 15 years ago. It was quite a lawless time. That's true. Yeah, and he talks about how I got my skull broken in my last fight. Blinded in one eye. Our friend Chris Price, he was just on the podcast a while back, wrote a comment. Okay. So mostly positive comments. I'm looking for the negativity. Where's the negativity? Come on, I want somebody to say, Ramsey Dewey sucks. Ramsey Dewey is the worst. I'm not seeing it, though. Man, people on Quora are way more polite than the YouTube comment section, apparently. Ah, here we go. Desmond says, I would like to know who his instructors were. Interesting. You should go to my website. There's a long list of all the instructors I've trained with on that website. He never really seemed to do well in competition, and the fact that he's teaching MMA in China doesn't say a lot about his ability. Racist. I find him kind of annoying and preachy, to be honest, and he strikes me as more of an artist than a fighter. Well, if that's about as negative as it comes, I guess we're doing okay. All right, on with the background search of Ramsey Dewey. IMDb. The next result is IMDb. Ramsey Dewey TV series 2006. I was in a TV series? Is this a different Ramsey Dewey? I don't know. I looked up Ramsey Dewey on the FBI database, the US FBI database, because you can... No, not the FBI database. The Social Security database, because it will tell you how many people in the United States have your name. And it's like less than 50 people in the US are named... I misspoke. Less than 500 people in the U.S. have the given name Ramsey, and there's one, as far as I know, named Ramsey Dewey. So I've got a IMDb page, which I was not aware of, and it's pretty empty. There seems to be a link to a YouTube channel. It's my YouTube channel. I'm on the IMDb. Whoa, maybe I am famous. I'm on the IMDb with an empty page. So I don't know how to edit the IMDb. Maybe you click this picture, the thing that says edit. Huh. Something to look into. Okay, onward and outward, doing the background search, the background check on Ramsey Dewey. Okay. There is a link to Reddit where people are commenting on a video I posted years ago about a Kali guy sparring with a Kendo guy in a mixed rules sparring match. And yeah, so anyway, background check on Ramsey Dewey. Before we get deeper into that, there's a super chat from RRTNZ who says, you come out of retirement for MMA fight, but it has to be against either Batman, Chuck Liddell in 2005, or The Punisher. Who do you fight and why? Who do I fight and why? Batman, The Punisher, or Chuck Liddell? I would probably go with The Punisher if it's an MMA fight, and here's why. He is probably, even though he's supposed to be a hand-to-hand combat expert, his specialty is weapons. So he would be the rustiest out of that bunch at hand-to-hand combat. MMA in particular, like we're talking prime Chuck Liddell. Great knockout artist, tough dude. He could just tank a lot of damage, stuff takedowns really well. So 2005 Chuck is a scary guy, man. Batman is canonically the best hand-to-hand combatant in the DC universe, with or without superpowers. And the Punisher, he's a strategist. Like Batman, he's a strategist, but again, he relies mostly on the lethal force of deadly weapons. So I would go with the Punisher. So I didn't even finish reading this question. So let's continue. This fellow says, I just did a background check on you, Dewey. Anyone can move to China. Anyone can move to China. So he's trying to denigrate me first by saying that anyone can move. What you're doing is not special. Living in China is not special, because the first thing I say in every video is, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China, and living here in Shanghai makes me so dang special. Be jealous. Be very that's what I say, right? That's what I say, right? Anyway, anyone can move to China. Anyone with a valid visa. Anyone who can acquire a visa can move to China. If you have a criminal record, you can't get a visa. If you do not have the right qualifications, you cannot move to China. So if you get the right visa, you can move to China. Anyone can move to China and send videos to the United States. I'm sending videos to the United States. Well, when I post a video on YouTube, I'm sending them to the entire world. Attempting to look cool. That's why I do this, to attempt to look cool, right? Blow in your nose live on the internet. So cool. So dang cool. I had told you before, I don't know who this dude is or what he said before. I wasn't really paying that much attention. But I have told you before that my Sifu, Joseph Simonte, Sid, or however you say that, had been hired by the Chinese Anti-Terrorist Task Force. Oh, cool. I worked with them once. To teach them Kung Fu. The reason why they hired him is because Chinese Kung Fu is not what it used to be and has had troubles adjusting to current-day scenarios and situations. They realize that they needed an outsider's point of view that understood multiple fighting styles and try to modernize the methods of their team. Okay, I remember this guy. He wrote me a long comment about how his Kung Fu instructor went to China and taught the Chinese anti-terrorist police force. Look, I've actually worked with these guys. So I have a friend who is, he is a former member of the Chinese judo national team, and he trained at a Sanda camp in Jiangsu province, where a branch of the Chinese anti-terrorist police force, it's just a special police force they have here in China that addresses essentially violent crimes. So you've got your regular beat cops who walk around the streets and they're like friendly Boy Scouts, and they deal with like traffic issues for the most part, or arguments. And then you've got the anti-terrorist guys who deal with actual violent crimes. And so I'm over at this gym, and my friend says, "Oh yeah, you're gonna teach the anti-terrorist police force," and they're all like young guys between like 20 and 30 years old, and physically fit. They train in Sanda like 4 times a week. They train at the Sanda gym, right, to keep their fighting skills up. And my friend Zheng Xiang, he tells me, "Okay, you're going to train them." And I'm thinking I'm going to teach them like a rear naked choke, or I'm going to teach them a pin or a takedown or something like that to help them, in their, basically arrest people using non-lethal methods, right? And so he sets me out in front of these guys. There's like 30 of them. And what happens next is I end up fighting every last one of them, one after the other after the other. And my friend has such high confidence in my abilities. He's like, yeah, Ramsey, you can do it. I'm like, wait, I thought I was going to teach them. You are. You're going to teach them through combat. So he's like, dang. It's a good thing none of these dudes knew jujitsu at the time because they were strong, they were athletic, young dudes, and they're just shooting in for like blast doubles and stuff. And so I ended up doing a lot of guillotines and a few rear naked chokes. And they were like, wow, you can end a fight really quick with a choke. Teach us that stuff. Essentially, they wanted to see, can this guy fight? And if he can, what can he teach us from that? So look, if you're teaching the police, and it's not just in China, in the U.S. too, right? Military as well. A lot of martial artists brag about their experience teaching police or military or government agencies or whatever. Was the pay good? No, I didn't get paid at all. It was volunteer, just a volunteer thing. Anybody can volunteer. Like literally anybody can volunteer to go teach some martial arts to the military or the police or whatever, as long as you have a contact, right? So yeah, so we had fun. It was basically like sparring with a bunch of white belts, sparring with a bunch of aggressive, athletic white belts. So afterwards, though, like these guys are legitimately trying to punch my head off. Like none of them know how to grapple, so I'm able to tie them up pretty easily. And afterwards, I go up to my friend Zhang Xiang, the judo expert, and he's like, "You did a great job, man. Great lesson." And I was like, "Never do that to me again, please." There was something lost in translation. I thought I was going to go, teach some technique, and everybody else understood, we are going to fight this guy. Because, if you claim to be a teacher, in China anyway, people expect that you can back up what you say. If you come to a group of highly athletic dudes who their literal job is to deal with violent crime, and you're an absolute pushover who doesn't know what the heck you're doing, they're probably not going to be very interested in learning from you. Anyway, so on with this question. The reason why they hired him is because Kung Fu is not what it used to be. No, look. Again, we have the fallacy of equating the word Kung Fu with like Chinese martial arts. It's not. I know in American vernacular we use Kung Fu to refer to Chinese traditional martial arts, but that's not what the word means. So there are many styles of Chinese martial arts. Kung Fu is a mastery. It quite literally means a great skill acquired through hard work over a long period of time. Okay? And if you are not greatly skilled through the investment of a great deal of time and work and effort, you have not attained Kung Fu in your martial art. We have a super chat from RRTNZ who says, after you choke out the Punisher, you have to face either Aragorn, Conan, Zoro, or Miyamoto Musashi in a duel. Whom do you face? With what sword and why? Oh, we've got a sword fight. Oh, dang. Zoro is definitely out because he is an excellent fencer. Then again, Zoro uses a rapier. And if I had like an English longsword, I think I could do pretty well against a guy with a rapier, even a good fencer. But at the same time, the chances of getting stabbed are pretty high. Miyamoto Musashi, I wouldn't want to fight him. He cheats. Miyamoto Musashi, dude cheated all the time. That's how he survived. That's how he won his duels, by disobeying by the code of Bushido and cheating. So you're probably going to die if you fight Miyamoto. He's going to figure out a way. He's going to figure out your weakness. He's kind of like the Batman of samurai with his prep time. He's going to figure out a way to cheat you, to kill you. Okay, Aragorn. Ooh. So Aragorn, this fictional character who is... I mean, he's technically human, but he's from a race of humans, the Dunedain, who are physically superior to normal humans in every way, right? He's got a lifespan of hundreds of years. Like, if you didn't know, Aragorn at the beginning of the book and the movie is supposed to be in his 80s. and he's still got the body of a young man in his athletic prime. And he's got the experience, the fighting experience of many, many decades of warfare. And so he's got this young body too. Can you imagine that? If you had like 80 years of fighting experience, but you're still in your athletic prime. Oh man, that would be a crazy good fighter. So I don't like the idea of Aragorn. Conan is okay. He's big and he's strong. We're talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger-sized dude with a massive sword. Okay. So I don't like the idea of any of these. As George Silver said, in single rapier combat, the better wrestler almost always wins. If neither man knows how to wrestle, the stronger almost always wins. I think the threat of that with Conan would be very real, because if you end up in a bind with Conan in a sword fight, he's going to overpower you and he's going to crush you to death. So, dang. I have read Miyamoto Musashi's book, so I could probably figure out a way to cheat him at his own game. So let's go with Musashi. There you go. There's your answer. All right, back to the question. Let's feed the trolls. So anyway, this dude talks about how his kung fu coach went to China and trained the anti-terrorist police force, which again is something literally anybody can do. Then he says this: "Why is it that no one else talks about you?" I love that. This guy is literally talking about me by saying that nobody talks about me. Why is it no one talks about you? And here I am leaving like my third or fourth comment talking about you anyway. I've been doing this for 35 years. I'm not sure what he means by this, like trolling the YouTube comment section. Probably not, because YouTube has been around for less than 20 years. And I've never heard anyone mention your name. You just did, again. Everybody knows who Uncle Bill is. I have an Uncle Bill. Not everybody has an Uncle Bill, but I've got an Uncle Bill. Everyone knows who Uncle Bill is because he was that good. I don't know who this Uncle Bill is. Joseph, I don't know who Joseph is. Even managed to train people like Scott Weiland, I don't know who that is. And Slash, the guitarist from Guns N' Roses? Finally, a name I recognize, maybe. Please show us how good you really are. Or just stop. I'm embarrassed for you every time I turn my phone on. Is this guy a subscriber to my channel? And every time he turns his phone on, it's set to go to see what my most recent thing on YouTube is? This is fascinating. So, he demanded, please show us how good you really are. Allow me to show you my kung fu. Observe my thumb right here. Using only my chi, I will remove it. Observe, it's still moving. And now it's reattached. Not too shabby, huh? I bet Uncle Bill can't do that. All right, let's take a look at some real comments. Whew. Nobody who says it's just a sport knows how to fight. Like, seriously. So if you're coming on my channel and saying this nonsense in a video, a technique video, specifically about the sport of mixed martial arts, some nonsense about how, oh, that only works in a sport fight, in a street fight, like, shut up. Shut up. You're outing yourself. You're outing yourself as a dude who has, one, never been in a fight, but two, has no idea how the thing happens. So, it seems like the less people understand violence, the more they tend to talk about it. With bravado, in particular. So there is a quote often attributed to Shaka Zulu that I really like. And it's also attributed to others as well. And it's a great quote, so I understand why it's attributed to many, many great warriors throughout history. A man putting on His armor for war should not speak as a warrior returning from the battlefield. And yet we see it constantly in the YouTube comment section. Anyway, a couple of super chats. One from Jean-Tier who says, in regards to cheating, what are your thoughts on people thinking perfectly fine MMA rules to be cheap and cheating in some sense? Will MMA become that? THT, is that? I don't know. Will MMA become THT? Okay, yeah, I've got some thoughts about this question. I gotta blow my nose first, because again, it's running like a faucet. Don't worry, folks at home, you're probably far enough away from the screen where my germs aren't going to infect you. But I hear this a lot. Every now and then I'll scroll through Instagram and I'll look at some videos, a lot of combat sports videos people post, MMA fights, grappling matches, etc. And I can always tell when somebody does something cool and legal that there will be hundreds of comments saying, isn't that illegal? He should be disqualified. I was watching a wrestling match a while back, high school wrestling match, and one of the wrestlers does a suplex on the other, which under this rule set is perfectly legal. And I'm like, oh boy, people in the comments are going to be arguing about how this guy should be shipped off to a gulag for doing a suplex on his opponent, even though it's a perfectly legal technique under this rule set. And sure enough, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Every MMA fight that ends with a slam, there's always hundreds of people in the comment section saying, that's illegal, he should be banned. No, it's not. No, he shouldn't. Slamming is a legal and viable way to win in an MMA fight. And what happens a lot when people get slammed and their head makes contact with the floor, people will always scream, that's spiking, that's illegal. No, it's not. No, it's not. Spiking is a pile driver. It is not slamming someone and them being too dumb to tuck their chin and failing to follow rule number 1 of combat sports, which is protect yourself at all times. We have a super chat from NKS432 who says, I asked as I thought FMS was poor. I train combat sports, but I saw some dog bros sparring. That stuff is violent and does not seem healthy. I asked, I don't know what our friend NKS asked, but I don't know what FMS is. I thought FMS was poor. Again, I don't know what that is. I train combat sports, but I saw some dog bros sparring. That stuff is violent and does not seem healthy. Yeah, whacking each other with sticks is definitely not healthy. It is violent. Sustaining damage to the body is obviously not healthy. Yeah, so before you spar, weigh the risk to reward. And my recommendation, tone it down. FMS equals foot massage session. Huh. Filipino Martial Systems. Any other guesses what FMS means? Whew. Okay. Coach's snot tissues available on eBay. I've seen some crazy things. For sale on eBay. Man, when eBay was pretty new, I remember. So I'm just looking through eBay trying to see what's selling for a lot, because like back then I would sell a couple used things on eBay trying to make a few extra dollars. And I found that some of the highest selling items were dirty old socks. And I thought, why the heck would anybody pay hundreds of dollars for a dirty old sock? And then the internet was still pretty new. I learned the harsh truth that some people are weirdos. A lot of people are weirdos. We have a super chat from Ixender who says, 1, how the heck did you do that to your thumb? Ah. Did you train for 5 minutes, 5-minute breaths hold, breath holds. You mentioned it in a video, but never elaborated. Okay. So, the secret thumb trick. It's very simple. Step 1, develop your chi to master level. Step 2, hide this thumb under your fingers. Step 3, hide this thumb under these fingers. Step 4, adjust so that it appears that this thumb is attached to this finger or this hand. Wiggle it. Wiggle both so it appears. Whoa. There you go. A magician never reveals his tricks except for when he does. I love YouTube content where magicians reveal their tricks. That's fun for me. But the second part of this question. So how do you train to do 5-minute breath holds? All right, it's pretty simple. Maybe I should do some of that right now to help clear out my lungs. Because I got a cold right now. That might actually be helpful. Teach you guys some breathing methods. You have to hyperoxygenate your blood first before you hold your breath. If you rely only on the oxygen that's in your lungs, you will not be able to hold your breath for 5 minutes. So if you look at professional divers, like free divers, not scuba divers, they go in without an oxygen tank. They can hold their breath for extended periods of time. Okay, you've got to hyperoxygenate your blood. So take a deep breath in through your nose, as much as you can. When your nose, you can't breathe anymore, suck in more air through your mouth, like this. And let it out, okay? Now do it again. Breathe in through the nose, then breathe in more air through the mouth to hyperinflate the lungs. Slowly breathe out through the throat with a closed mouth. Don't blow it out. Push it out through your throat so that you get even more leftover oxygen absorbed through the membranes of your throat, essentially. Do that 10 to 20 times. You're going to be making noise like Darth Vader. Okay, so I'm not going to do the whole thing because it's going to take a while. What happens next, you take one of those breaths in, but then you push all of the air out, all of it. And then after all the air's gone from your lungs, you hold it and you don't breathe. And your instinct is going to be to hyperventilate, but you fight that. You fight that for as long as you can, and you relax, and you accept imminent death. That's what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel like you're going to die, but you won't. You just don't breathe, and you realize that breathing in can be a completely controllable function. Okay? I'm not breathing. So, that was what, 15 seconds, something like that. Anyway, I don't want to hold my breath for 5 minutes and bore you guys to death during a live stream. I don't know how interesting that would be, because how would you even verify that I wasn't like cheating and taking tiny little breaths on the way very quietly? because that would be easy to do. But that's how you do it. So this is taught by a number of people. Free divers do it. Wim Hof calls it the Wim Hof method. And essentially it's a way of triggering what's called the mammalian drowning reflex. Wim Hof doesn't talk about that, but that's the science behind it. So if you want to understand the science behind breath holding, okay, you essentially hold your breath until your body feels like it's going to die, feels like it's drowning. And you can also trigger this by putting cold water on your forehead, lower than room temperature, right? Or dive into cold water. You'll trigger the mammalian drowning reflex. Your breathing will slow down. Your heart rate will slow down. Your metabolism will change. Your body will go into survival mode. You'd be shocked how long people often hold their breath when they sleep. Sometimes when you sleep, you actually hold your breath for extended periods of time that you would never, ever think about doing while awake. Oh, we have another super chat from RRTNZ who says, "You kill Musashi. Now you and your longsword have to duel with Worf with a bat'leth, Sulu with a rapier, Gimli with an axe, or fight Spock unarmed. Who and why?" I'm going with Worf. I don't even have to think about this. Okay. In Star Trek The Next Generation, Worf, he's appointed Chief Security Officer of the Enterprise. And they always talk about how tough and badass Klingons are. And yet, every single time we see Worf in actual combat, he gets his butt kicked. Every time, without fail. I mean, look this up. Look this up on YouTube. There's probably a YouTube compilation of Worf getting his butt kicked by aliens in Star Trek with his bat'leth in hand. Bat'leths are, it's a fun design, but it's a goofy weapon. It's a goofy weapon, man. It's so short range, unless you hold it by the edge, in which case you're... Yeah, if you don't know, a bat'leth is a Klingon Star Trek weapon. It's like a crescent-shaped sword with curved edges on one side. You hold it on the other side. It's a goofy weapon. If I have a long sword, Worf is dead. I would stab him through both of his hearts. He's gone. Okay. Here's a question for you guys. Have you ever met anybody who has said, MMA is just a sport? You don't know the streets, or some nonsense like that, who actually knows how to fight? I'm genuinely curious. Have you met anybody in that camp who knows how to fight? NKS sends in a super chat. Dog bros aside, what's your opinion of Kali systems? I don't have a lot of experience with Kali. I do have some friends, like my friend Nils, who's been on my channel a number of times, who practices Kali. He showed me a few things about it, and I mean, I don't have much to compare it to. If you're fighting with sticks, it seems like a pretty good idea that maybe you should learn a few stick fighting techniques. But at the same time, I would be genuinely curious to see Kali experts doing some stick sparring with just some really aggressive dudes with a pair of sticks who've never trained in Kali, just to see what would happen. Because it's really easy to claim a position of authority if nobody challenges you. Traditional martial arts, I think, probably died in the 1960s or 1970s, and we held the funeral in 1993 with UFC 1. And here's what I mean by that. The only traditions that seem to remain from traditional martial arts are doing the forms, and nobody even remembers why we do the forms or what they're for, or proper bunkai of any of this stuff. Wearing a uniform that they borrowed from a different traditional martial art, from judo, wearing belts and having belt ranks, which they also borrowed from judo, and bowing, which they also borrowed from judo. So, why do I bring that up? Ah, yes, we're talking about Kali. So in 1993, Rorion Gracie and, what was his name? The other dude, Art Davie. They got together and they had this idea. Let's televise this thing the Gracies have been doing for a while and challenging these people, claiming the high ground, claiming to be the authority in fighting. We're the fighting experts to an actual fight and see if their claims hold water. And the Gracies would fight them and strangle them because the other guys didn't know how to grapple and often didn't know how to fight. And the claims didn't hold water. So I'm genuinely curious to see what would happen. And I don't know what would happen. Because I don't know how much sparring these dudes do. I don't know how much sparring they do with different types of people, maybe not trained in the narrative of move the stick in this particular way. If that's going to make much of a difference. If you take just a regular dude untrained in Kali, who's at least a decent athlete so he's not going to gas out in the first 30 seconds, give him some Kali sticks and have him fight a Kali expert. What happens? I don't know. If you take fencing, give both guys a foil and have a fencing expert fence with somebody who's never done it before, I think it's pretty reasonable to assume the fencing expert's going to win that exchange, but that's also a different thing. That's about touching the dude with the point of the foil as opposed to doing damage. So there's no psychological element of if he hits me, this is going to cripple me. If he hits me, this is going to damage my body in a serious way. Like, even if you got a mask on and some body armor, because I know a lot of Kali guys wear body armor when they spar. You know, my friend Nils, who does this thing, and he wears the body armor, he wears the gloves. When he would come in to train with me, he'd always have big welts and marks all over his body, all over his arms, etc., from these sticks, because they're hitting each other with sticks. And even with padding on, it's still going to leave marks. It's still going to do damage. And so there's still that threat of damage and violence and injury. And maybe that's a good thing because it can make the Kali training a little more real. So I don't know how this would happen. Friends out there who train in Kali, Eskrima, any sort of Filipino stick fighting method, have you experienced this thing I'm talking about? Do you have like new guys come to your gym who don't know the first thing about stick fighting technique and spar with them, like on day one, with just an aggressive athletic dude who tries to beat you up with sticks? What happens? Or do you go to a gym where you've got to be carefully trained in the precise narrative of move the stick like this or whatever before anybody's allowed to spar, and by that point, a lot of the aggressive dudes who just want to throw down drop out anyway? Aaron says in FMA they just do blocking. I've seen some Kali schools that just do drills and sequences and don't spar. Some of them spar, so I don't know. All right, let's open this up to some questions. We'll do a few questions from the folks at home, and then I'm going to skedaddle, spare my throat, because again, I'm just dealing with a cold here today. Got to clean up all these snot rags I've been throwing all over the floor here. So there's a discussion going on about loudmouths in the comments. Basically, strong men are quiet. The loudest bark has the weakest bite. True? Question mark, says Nico. And people are debating over this idea. Are the strong and the competent always quiet and humble? Sometimes they are. Often they are, but are they always? No. No. You get loudmouths of all sorts. I think those who have experienced more adversity tend to be more humble than those who have experienced less. But you can be physically strong without experiencing great adversity. You can be genetically gifted, etc. You can be a bully who is essentially born big, who's just able to squish people at will without having to work for it. That happens. Those guys exist. It's the guys who have to work for it that tend to develop the humility, or they go to the other extreme. They become the villain. They become the thing they detest. This is one of the things I love about superhero comic books, is because they often present this idea. There's a hero and they're a villain, and they're incredibly similar. Their origin stories are often very identical. So I've been playing a lot of Street Fighter lately, and two of the female characters, we've got Chun-Li and Juri Han, and one is heroic and good, and the other is evil, right? And they essentially have the same backstory. The evil villain, M. Bison, kills their fathers. And just gives them a really raw deal. One seeks out justice and righteousness, and the other becomes a self-serving sadist out for revenge, but self-serving revenge. So it's like there is a element of truth to that archetype that we see in comics and video games of the hero-villain dynamic, which I think is very true in the fact that we are all presented with this choice to either take the heroic path to our own adversity or the cowardly path to that same exact adversity. So you have a weakling, for example, little nerd who's beaten up in school. People make fun of him because he's small, he's weak, right? They pick on him. And both of these guys are like, I'm going to get strong so the bullies will stop picking on me, so I can fight back. And one of them takes the high road, and when presented with the option to, how shall we put this, beat the bullies up and put them in their place, he says, you know what? I'm better than that. And the other one does the polar opposite and is like, you know what? Now that I have the power, I will be the abuser. Which happens so much more often in life than you might think. The cycle of abuse is unfortunately very, very real. When people suffer, that old saying, misery loves company, as does the devil. Misery loves company. It doesn't take the misery away to share it. And yet, this logical leap, this fantasy that sharing the misery is going to quell the suffering, persists. Captain America wants to join me for a live stream. Captain America, do you have a YouTube channel? I'm going to check this out. You have a YouTube channel with 100 subscribers and no content. How do you get 100 subscribers with no content? You don't have a single video on your channel, and you have 100 subscribers. That is amazing. It's not your real channel. What's your real channel? Captain America, what is your real channel? Want to see what you're all about. I'm actually interested in chatting with some of the folks out there at home, see what you guys are all about. Do I watch Invincible? I haven't seen it. Excuse me, I don't know what that's about. Is that like one of those comic shows that illustrates that hero-villain dynamic we were talking about? The channel name of Captain America is the Surya Kung Fu. Let's look that up. Let's look that up. The Surya Kung Fu. 420 subscribers, 46 videos. Okay, that's more like it. Some actual videos and subscribers. Okay. All right, he's got some videos doing some martial arts, some tricking, some deadlifting. Okay, cool, cool. Nice kicks. Huh. Yeah. Nice highlight reel, man. So, let's see here. It's amazing how many people ask me to do Skyrim playthroughs. Edward Anderson says, hey, late start, sick of comic characters. Actually, Disney has ruined them. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I'm tempted to make some videos talking about the recent strain of comic book movies out there. But since it's so different than the content that I usually put out on this channel, the YouTube robots would probably kill my channel altogether because of it. Maybe I'll put something up on my other channel, Ramsey Dewey, on religion and philosophy on that topic. But, yeah, man, I saw, what was it? A trailer for a new Sony film, Madam Web. Did you guys see this trailer? Madam Web. Loosely based, in name only, I should say. Am I back? Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to finish this thought because the Great Firewall is breaking down here. Agricola has a good idea. Restart the stream. You know what? Captain America, are you still in the chat? Let's do a go live together right now. Captain America, you still here? I'm going to send you an invite. So, Captain America, if you're listening, aka the Surya Kung Fu, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Let's do a go live together. I'm going to go get some water because my throat is dying here. Then I'm going to end this chat. I'm going to start another one, a go live together. We're going to talk to the Surya Kung Fu. So wait just about 2-3 minutes. I'm going to send you an invite to go live together. How am I going to do that though? Can you send me your email in the chat right here? So the Surya Kung Fu, can you send me an email or, yeah, so I can, you can either email it to me at ramseydewey@gmail.com, that's ramseydewey@gmail.com, or just write it in the chat and I'll copy and paste it. So, go ahead and do that. We'll go live. So yeah, as soon as I get that email, I can send you a link. So just... The stream is almost over, but I'm going to start a new one. Because we're getting laggy here. And sometimes we're going to rely on the technology of turn it off and then on again. It is shocking how often that works. Since the dawn of electronics, turning it off and then on again. Just works magic. So anyway, still waiting for a link, an email, so I can... Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Anyway, we'll just keep chatting for a while and see if our friend Captain America sends a link so we can get him on the chat. Ah, you sent it. Let me refresh my email again. No, not yet. Sometimes they take a minute to come through. Again, that was ramseydewey@gmail.com. No spaces, no dots. No capital letters. Huh. No, nothing yet. Nothing yet. Am I going to do a part 2 of kicking power? I definitely could. Which type of kick would you like to learn to add more power to? Because the method is different for every kick. So again, SBV, what kind of kick do you want to add more power to? Check my email again. Refresh that page. Yeah, nothing yet. Let me check my spam filter. They sent your email to the spam filter, dude. How dare they? Report not spam. Okay, so I got the email. Cool, cool. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to end this live stream. And in about 3-4 minutes, we're going to come back with a special guest, our friend Surya Kung Fu. Go check out his channel. He's got some martial arts content right there you might be interested in, so you know who we're talking about. See what he's all about. And yeah, see what he has to say. All right, cool. That being said, thank you for watching. Tune in momentarily or watch it ex post facto on the replay. Now get out there and train.